A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
How's it going? Just a little behind the curtains info for you guys. Because I'm going to be out for maternity leave, we're doing a bunch of, recordings to make sure you guys still get your episodes. So we're recording this a little early. And it is the first day of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
Oh, yeah, right. We're going to be, it's first day of Hanukkah, but you're probably, when are the listeners hearing this?
They're hearing this on January 13th. So Hanukkah is come and gone.
Yes. Okay. Well, they will reminisce or think back to a time. First day of Hanukkah. How are you guys doing over there?
Good. We got menorah. It's very snowy here. Everyone always talks about dreaming of a white Hanukkah.
Yeah.
as the lyrics go.
That is pretty though. That's nice. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, it's nice. The snow's it's that time of year where it's still pleasant to see it. You're like, oh, this is so fun.
The first one, yeah.
Yes. By the time you get to March, it's like, oh my God.
Is it still snowing?
This is not happening. And it hasn't turned into that disgusting slushy mess yet.
Yeah.
So just, living in the moment, enjoying enjoying the snow. I was thinking about this the other day. I wondered, a little off topic from that. Wanted to get your professional opinion. And I'm not sure if you have this too, is like, doing this show, and I do a lot of podcasts that are all on video. So I see a lot of videos of myself every week, every day. And like, sometimes I'll see a video and I'll be like, oh, you look great, about myself.
Yeah.
And then other times, and maybe more recently, I don't know if I'm like, if it's pregnancy or the winter or I'm pale or whatever it is, I'll see myself in a video and I'll be like, ugh.
Right.
I don't like that angle, or I don't like that, I don't like the way my makeup looks, or I don't like the way my hair looks, or I thought this outfit looked better when I put it on this morning. Mm-hmm. And now I'm seeing it in like a high definition video. And there's just like a feeling of like, I want to get this like out of here. Like, I don't want to like see this.
Right.
I assume everyone feels that at some point. I mean, most people I think don't see as many pictures and videos of themselves constantly like I do. But sometimes it does. Like usually I kind of like see it. I'm like a little irritated and then I like forget about it and go on about my day. Also, just because of the sheer number of them, I'm a little desensitized to like not thinking I look great all the time.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing that you're desensitized.
Right. But do you think it's an issue that I even feel it like in the moment? Like is the like the best thing like psychologically to be someone who's just unmoved no matter what about how they look all the time?
Right. No, I don't think that's possible. I think the way you're handling it sounds great, which is you're like seeing something, you don't really love it. Then I think the tendency, or when it gets to a place where it might not be healthy, is when you start to fixate on like the thing, whatever the thing is. Like, I'm pale. I'm going to go order a self-tanner, or I'm going to go book a vacation, or I'm going to go to the tanning. Like when you're like, I find this thing, or like, oh, like my teeth don't look right, or whatever it is. Like, I need to go out and fix it. Or like when you get fixated and you're like, I can't tolerate this. I need to change it. I think is where it becomes more of an issue than like, okay, I don't love that, but like, I'm going to move on with my day and not fixate on this thing about myself.
And maybe I won't share it. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I could share it because I like what I'm saying, but I don't like how I look. So I'm like not trying to get it in front of more people.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say is like maybe focusing more on the content of like, almost like if you wanted to be more of like a enlightened being, like just kind of focusing on like the message that you're giving or the content versus like the container that you're giving it with, I think would be great, because it probably is really insightful or funny or just a good take on something, but you might not want to share it because whatever, your skin looks pasty or your hair looks frizzy or whatever the thing is. But like, I think it's a good practice to kind of be like, okay, so
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's interesting what you're saying about like about the content of what you're saying, because I've thought about that, and like I'm not someone who cares that much about like packaging, right?
right.
But it's also like if you give a gift, the content of the gift matters most, right? But if I got you a nice gift and I kind of just like gave it to you unwrapped and like,
Yeah.
covered in like that, like, cardboardy paper that like packaging
Right.
comes in, like
Right.
packaging
Right.
paper.
Right.
You might not feel as like excited about it, even if it's the same gift. You might not feel as excited about it as if you got it in this like beautiful gift wrap with a ribbon and a bow.
Yes, but I think the extreme that you're painting, so it's Hanukkah, right? Speaking of which, so I've been like wrapping gifts and I don't have a lot of time. So I really, like, I wrapped just the other day, I wrapped this like Maddie wanted this fancy lunchbox for school. So like it's kind of like it's not like a square lunchbox. It's like an awkward shape. So I just like slapped the paper over the top and like put a couple pieces of tape and like, throw it together, and
Right.
it has wrapping paper on it. It's like I gave it to her in like a, garbage bag. So like, but she didn't care. Like she's fine with it. But I think the extreme you're painting is like you having maybe frizzy hair or like pasty skin is the equivalent of like giving a gift in a garbage bag. Like
Right.
nobody's noticing. I don't think. You're
Right.
so much
No.
more critical of yourself.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the point, is like you're so much more critical of yourself. But like if the president gave a speech and his hair was like all over the place,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
or the leader of your company got up to give
Yes.
like your all hands speech and they just looked like completely disheveled, it might
It's
affect
so
what they're
true.
saying a little
But I
bit.
think your brain is going from like pasty skin to like disheveled, messy hair and like unbuttoned shirt with like chest hair like down to the belly. I don't think that's the vibe. But yeah, I see.
Right.
I think what happens is your mind goes there. Like your mind goes to
Right. Am I losing credibility because
Yes.
of
I'd
whatever
like
this
you
thing
to
is?
show me whatever the things are that send me the ones where you're like, ugh, I don't want to share this with anyone. This looks terrible. And I'm curious how bad they actually are. But yeah, I had to get used to that too. Like once we started putting this on recording, and I have those moments where I'll see something and I'm like, ugh. And then I just try to quickly move on and like think
Right.
about the content or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. It's not an easy thing. And I remember for a while they were like creating these little snapshots where I was making like the craziest faces, like in the
Right.
little thumbnails. And I was like, this is a little crazy. It was like
Yeah.
almost like cross-eyed. I was like, all right, that's the
Right.
equivalent of like
Extreme. Right.
the
Yeah.
gift in the garbage bag. But I think
Sure. Yeah.
other
No,
than
that's
that,
fair. But it's funny. It's like you always see these reality shows, or even like honestly, like scripted actor sitcoms sometimes, where you see the characters season 1 and then they come back season 2 and they have like a whole glow up.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they've been, they see
made some
themselves
money and
from
got like a
different-
team or whatever and can get
But also they're
themselves
se-
together.
Yeah, but also they're seeing themselves like from a
Right.
different angle. That's you hear that in plastic surgery all the time. Like people want like the faces that are like filtered, that they see like on the filter, which aren't real. So it's hard to get perspective in a world where like it's so easy to see photos of yourself. Like you have to think like, I don't know, 40 years ago, you saw like the picture that was taken probably just on your vacation that you had to go and develop, and you saw
Yes.
pictures of yourself like
all crazy because nothing was edited. It was just
right. And you saw them just much less frequently. You saw them
Right.
maybe like, I don't know, how often were people getting photos developed once every couple months, maybe.
Yeah. About that.
And that was your opportunity to see what you look like in a picture,
Yes.
and no one else saw it. And then you could like put it away. Now it's just like all I see
all over the place.
But it's just like funny. Like there's so many different images and filters and ways you can see yourself now. And airbrushing and editing and like all that stuff. And it's constant. So I'm sure and it's funny also because you see, like, you remember the Golden Girls, like there's a whole thing about like the Golden Girls, where the Golden Girls in the show were like, I don't know, in their 50s
my
and
age.
60s. Right. Right. And they look so much older. But like, I think that's just what older people look like then, because they weren't just constantly seeing and editing pictures of themselves and like trying to reach this standard. You just kind of knew like the older people in your life.
Yes. When you were old, you like had gray hair, because that's what a lot of people just were like, my hair's gray and now I'm old. And like, that's life. Like if I didn't color my hair, I would look like an old lady with like gray hair. And similarly to the Golden Girls, or like I've seen pictures of like our grandmother when she was my age and she like fully had gray hair. So it's crazy. What helps me sometimes is to think about the people that I really admire and like the people that I want to strive to be more like. And most of them are older than me, like, teachers, wise. For me, it's like a lot of like, kind of Buddhist meditation teachers, and like, especially some of the older male Buddhist meditation teachers, like that's not a look that I'm striving for, like big white beard and like bald head.
That's not why you're following them.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes it is nice to kind of, reset like who you are aspiring to be like. And as you get older, it does help to shift that. Like you do get to a point, and I think I'm there in some regards, where you're like, I'm never going to look the way I looked when I was 25. Like it's only going to kind of go downhill from here in a lot of ways in terms of like, the traditional beauty standards. So I have to kind of lean into something else about myself that I feel good about, that I have more control over than my beauty and my looks, because it's not getting any better, honestly.
Right.
I mean, as far as like traditional beauty standards, like, I have to lean into something else that I can use as like an esteem booster, like what I'm saying, or like the tone that I'm using, or the way that I'm treating people. Getting older does kind of naturally, and yours doesn't seem like an aging thing, so I'm just speaking for myself, but like it does sort of force you to find other things about yourself that you have a sense of pride in other than your looks.
Right. And if you don't do that, then you're kind of just chasing fountain
constantly.
of youth. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see when it's really, and I don't judge anyone, but like when people are chasing that, and I do it too. I mean, I color my hair and I do all the things, but within reason, you have to realize like this isn't going to be a good thing to chase forever, because it's like,
right. Well, it's not something that generally gets better with age, or like, with age, whereas other things can. Other things can improve with age.
Totally. Which is why I look to these teachers where I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so much wisdom. Like you just seem so centered and calm and wise. And like, you've got like kind of you've got it figured out. Like that's where I want to go, versus like have wrinkle-free skin and,
Right. Well, that's nice to have too. I'll think about that before I get Botox next time. Just
all right.
Counting down the days. All right, let's get into our show. We'll help some other people. Thanks. That was helpful. I'm going to think of some old wise people.
Yes.
Old wise non-hotties that I...
yes, follow them. You'll feel great about yourself.
I admire. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. If you guys have a voicemail, you can leave us a voicemail at 646-363-6294, or you can email us at oversharing@betches.com. You can subscribe to this podcast, get 2 bonus episodes out every month, get all the episodes ad-free and a day early, or you can join one of Dr. Naomi's therapy groups in the new year.
Yes. Come find us 2026. We'd love to have new people. These groups are awesome. So insightful. Love having every single, literally, it's weird to say, but I genuinely have the warmest feelings towards everyone in all of my groups. And I think they would all say that about each other too. So it's a great space if you're feeling a little lonely, like you want community, or even, you have a specific issue that you want to work out and you would like more of a crowdsourcing kind of vibe than an individual therapy vibe. Come find us, naomibernstein.com.
Love it. All right, let's get into it. I'll read our first overshare. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I'm a longtime listener of all things Betches, and I particularly love listening to oversharing. I have a big age gap with my older sister, and your relationship reminds me so much of ours. I find it so comforting. I'm reaching out with an oversharing regarding an ongoing conversation about weight with my mom. For context, my mom has always struggled with her body image, and I feel that was definitely pushed onto me from a young age. In fact, when I was 16, I developed some significant eating disorder behaviors and was diagnosed with anorexia. It took me years to find coping mechanisms that worked for me, and I would say only in the past 2 to 3 years do I finally feel at ease about my body and around food. Now on to my situation. I'm getting married in a few months. Hooray! Well, my mom is very excited for us. She started dropping hints that she thinks I should lose weight before the wedding. Initially, they were really just hints, but recently she's been much more explicit about it. A few days ago, I was eating toast with peanut butter for breakfast, and she asked me why I always have to eat breakfast and said that you, me, and your father are all going on a diet before the wedding. Yikes. I calmly replied that I don't want to lose any weight and that I'm happy with my body and how I look. She responded by saying, but don't you want to look better and have a smaller butt before your wedding? When I insisted that I did not want to look any different for the wedding, she just would not accept that. It's like she doesn't hear me. She's continued to make all sorts of comments, including offering me Ozempic, which, by the way, I do not qualify for based on weight and other medical comorbidities. I have tried having calm conversations with her where I explain her comments really hurt my feelings, and given my history, I worry about developing similar behaviors as I have in the past. I have also just clearly asked her to stop. Her only response is usually to say that I don't have to lose as much weight as I did previously, or to say that she is only telling me these things because she cares about me and she's the only person who will tell me the truth.
Oh, that's always a good one.
Yeah. This is my job to tell you these things. I used to be able to ignore the comments by saying she's just projecting her own insecurities onto me, but it's becoming more and more difficult to do that. And when I think about the fact that my mom knows my history with eating disorders and she continues to push the issue, I can't help but feel like me having the most perfect body is more important to her than my happiness, and that hurts even more. This is all especially hard to take because ordinarily I'm very close with my mom. I call her almost daily and we talk for a long time about everything. I can't imagine just setting a boundary to cut her out if she doesn't stop bringing up this issue. So I guess my main question is, do either of you have any recommendations of ways to effectively get my mom to stop bringing up my weight and make it clear to her that this is none of her business? As I said, I've tried telling her to stop and explaining how it affects me, but it hasn't helped. Also, do you have any advice to improve my body image? I'm really feeling happy about my body until these comments started. So now I feel I have to do damage control. Thank you both so much for any and all advice. I apologize for the really long message. Sincerely, Betch, I'm happy the way I am.
Sounds like she's done a really good job of trying to explain to her mom why she doesn't like this, how it makes her feel, and to please stop. And I'm here to break the news that she is not going to stop because you've asked her so many times. And it just, I think if that was going to sink in, it would have sank in.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a very sad realization when you have when you have that realization about your parent that maybe your best interest is not their number one concern.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like a tough pill to swallow.
Yes.
For someone you're close with, especially.
Yes. And I think the button this pushes is like, this is the mom. Mother feels ashamed by your body, right, is what I think is coming up here. And that is really not only triggering, but painful to think about, that her own desire to present in a certain way to her friends or whomever is going to be at this wedding is more, her ego stuff is more important than, making you feel good about yourself or even encouraging healthy habits for you, because you have gotten unhealthy with this. So that's even more painful to feel like she would prefer I be like kind of sick and anxious and unwell mentally over being a larger size.
I mean, to say like, why do you have to eat breakfast? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's sort of indicative of that line of reasoning.
So the mindset that I would take is almost like we were just talking about in the intro. Like, I am more evolved in some ways. Like, you just sound much more mature than her. Like, you have evolved in a way where you are accepting your body and whatever size you are. And that's something to be proud of. Like, just like, maybe I can say I'm proud of myself, and this doesn't always happen, and there's moments, but I'm proud of myself that I'm leaning in a direction of not caring so much that I'm aging or that I don't look the way that I did when I was 25, that I'm not like going to keep chasing that. And that is actually something that I like about myself. And so for her to kind of be like, well, I like this body. I've worked really hard to get to a place where I like this body. I almost like feel bad for you that at whatever age you're still stuck in this like ego driven world where you're having a small body is more important than the relationships, honestly, that you have in your life.
And enjoying your life.
Right.
I was going to say, I feel like she's like, oh, I don't want to like cut my mom out because we're close. And I don't think you have to do that. But if you're on a phone call and she starts talking about your weight, you can just hang up then.
Yes.
Like, there's ways to create a boundary about a certain topic without being like, I'm not speaking to you at all.
Yes.
But you can say, if she starts making comments or asking or talking about your diet, you can say like, I'm not interested in this conversation. And since you are, I'm going to hang up.
Perfect.
Like, we'll talk again later about something else.
100%. And so I started off by saying she's not going to change, but if there's any way that she's going to change, it might be that if she enjoys talking to you and you remove yourself from the conversation whenever she does that, then maybe she'll stop doing it. There's a chance. I don't have like the highest hopes, because she's going to have to do work on herself to be okay with you the way that you are. Whether she's going to do that or not, we don't know. But I do think the only chance, I love that advice. And even in person, you can kind of just remove yourself from the conversation, leave the room, leave the space if she's not respecting it. You can't change what someone says. Like, if you've asked them many times not to say something, but you can remove yourself and not be exposed to it. That is your power at any moment in an interaction with somebody. You can't stop them from saying it, but you can remove your ears from having to listen to it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm trying to think of like the mom's perspective here. Like, there's something where she clearly thinks she's like protecting her, I think. And so, because she's like, I'm the only one who will tell you, or something like that. So I don't know if there's like something there where in her mind, there is more to be gained from life from this than whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's worth it, I guess, for her.
Yeah. It's true. I do think genuinely she probably feels like it is interesting. I think there is currently in our, like the current moment in time with like, let's just call it mothers and daughters, right? Where this happens a lot. You probably get a lot of emails about like mothers making comments about daughters' bodies. And I think a lot of the women that are having daughters that are marriage age or having babies now did grow up in, like a climate where thinness was very important, and they might have had their own eating disorders. Like, maybe they were young in like the 80s and early 90s. Like, that's when they were teenagers or young adults.
Right.
I think that there is this crossroads where they are saying, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel ashamed. So the solution is lose weight.
Right.
As opposed to, I hope the women that are listening to this now, that are coming up now, are going to give their daughters the message of, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to go through what I went through. So accept your body as the solution, as opposed to the solution is lose weight and then you'll be okay. So I think we're getting there, but I do think they genuinely feel like I'm protecting you. No one else is going to tell you that you don't look, but their standard of beauty, like if you have a woman, I don't know, we can do the math. That was like whenever like that heroin chic look was, what was that? Early 90s?
Yeah. Like Kate Moss. Yeah.
Right. So if someone was like her age, 30, 20 something, when Kate Moss was like a thing, how old are they now? They're like her mom, you know, like, so that's what what the standard of beauty was that she grew up with. So I think we're kind of, it's like we bounce back and forth. I think the generation before that was like, just be lucky we have food, finish your plate. Like people are starving. And then there's this generation of like Kate Moss wannabe mom, you know, those people that are now mothers of the bride.
Right.
And hopefully we can swing back a little bit.
I imagine if it's like something in their head internally of like, almost like they think it's like equivalent to telling you to do well in school.
Yeah.
Bringing up your grades or bringing up something else that they think, well, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I see that in my patients more where it's like someone's single, like she's found her person and she's going to get married. But I think some parents feel like if you're not a certain size, you're never going to get married and then you won't be safe in the world.
Right. Just like if you get bad grades, you're not going to go to college and then you won't be safe in the world.
Right. Exactly. So I could, not that I see it either way. Like, I think it's, you know,
different, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, my point is, I'm not saying it's like justifiable, like, oh, to tell your single daughter she needs to lose weight so she could get married. But this one seems more like totally ego based. Like, I just don't want the people at the wedding to like be whispering. And you know what? I think there are a lot of circles where that does happen. And maybe, you know, she's thinking about people like whispering, oh, you know, she looks a little larger, like she's not so skinny, or like, okay, fine. Let them whisper. Like, but you have to be evolved enough to know, like, and your mom isn't there yet. Okay, if your friends are going to whisper behind your back that your daughter's not a size 2, like, I think you can handle that and not.
Or care more about what I think than what those people think.
Yes, and how it makes me feel. And yeah, I do think trying to lean into the idea of like moving away from a smaller body is a better body. Like there is a world where you can see a curvy, rounder, voluptuous body and feel really good in that skin. And I think you're getting there. And maybe you're not, you know, I don't know your body, but like more than whatever your mom would want for you. And I just think the takeaway here for this listener is feel proud that you are not stuck in this muck like your mom is. You know, like that's a great place to be.
I agree. And hold on to that. Yeah. And again, just hang up. Yeah. Just leave the room. That's like, like literally like, it's very clear then.
Withdrawing your presence is the only power you really have after you've done all the right things and tried to communicate nicely about how you feel.
Yeah. And again, you don't even have to do that angrily. You could be like, talk to you tomorrow about something else. I don't want to talk about this. Bye.
Yeah. I'm going to go now. And honestly, you can do it. I think the best way to do it to make it not stressful for you in doing that is, hey, I don't really want to talk about this. I'm going to go. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Right? Which is not like, sometimes it helps not to be like, now I'm not talking to you. Yeah. I'm just removing myself and we can try again tomorrow. And if you do it again tomorrow, then I'll remove myself and I'll say, hey, talk to you tomorrow. And you could keep giving her those chances and just removing yourself whenever she does it. And you don't have to make a big stink like, now I'm not talking to you, because that's stressful for you. And it's going to make her all panicky and weird and annoying probably.
Yeah. And you just kind of it's annoying and it's painful. I agree. But I think you just have to accept this is who she is. This doesn't sound like she's going to change. This is her thing. only thing I can do is not listen to it.
Yeah. And honestly, feeling even a little bad for her that she's still stuck in this, because it's not a fun place to be. This listener's been there. I think a lot of people have been in that place where you're just like obsessively thinking about what you're eating and not eating and your size and losing weight for your wedding and fitting a dress and dreading the dress fitting, dreading, anything. It's like, what a relief that you're not on that, hamster wheel.
Sounds miserable. All right, let's do a Betch assist.
All right, I will read this. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I'm writing because I desperately need advice on how or whether to tell my fiancé that I don't love my engagement ring. Some background. Like many women, I started looking at engagement rings after my then boyfriend and I had talked seriously about marriage. I was genuinely excited. Rings were all over my For You page. I loved imagining the proposal, and I even tried rings on with a close friend about 8 months before he proposed. I was very open with my boyfriend about what I liked. I sent him photos. We even had a shared folder where I saved screenshots of rings I loved. I didn't give him an exact cut or carat requirement, but I did give him a few clear style directions and options to choose from. The only true non-negotiable was that the band be gold. I assumed and told him this, that he would take the photos to a jeweler, get guidance, and design something aligned with my taste. He was very adamant that he wanted to do this on his own. He appreciated my input, but didn't want me involved in the shopping process, which I respected. So I was shocked and honestly really disappointed when he proposed with a ring that looked nothing like what I'd shared. The diamond is much smaller than I expected, and the cut is completely different from the styles I sent. What's been especially hard is that my fiancé makes very good money. After doing some research, I have a pretty accurate sense of what the ring cost. If he were struggling financially and spent that amount, I would feel incredibly grateful. But knowing that this was a relatively small investment for him has left me feeling hurt and questioning how much thought went into it. What adds to the pain is that he has very expensive hobbies and regularly spends thousands of dollars on them. Seeing that contrast makes it hard not to feel like something I'll wear every day for the rest of my life mattered less. We got engaged about 4 months ago, and I keep waiting to fall in love with the ring, but it hasn't happened. I actually avoid wearing it because it makes me anxious to look at. At the same time, he is so proud of it. On a recent hiking trip, I joked that if I lost it, at least it was insured. And he responded, but I picked out the diamond myself. Moments like that make me terrified of hurting his feelings. Complicating things further, I don't even know what the solution would be. We can't return it, and since it's lab grown, I assume the resale value has dropped significantly. So my question is, what should I do? Is this something I should bring up? And if so, how do I approach that conversation without deeply hurting him? Or is this one of those situations where I need to accept it, work on my feelings, and try to love it? Thank you so much for everything you do. I really value your perspective and hope you can help an anxious future bride, Betch.
I like this email. I think it's easy to dismiss something like this as you're being materialistic or, it shouldn't matter what the ring is. And I don't think that's the case here. Because to me, this is about something bigger than that. It's about her sharing input, her not, not trying to test him, basically telling him very explicitly over and over again what she's interested in, what she's expecting, what she really what she would love. And him not really seeming to care at all about any of those things and really just wanting to do it the way he wants to do it, which to me is kind of not a great sign for a marriage overall.
Right. I think she's more anxious about the underlying stuff. And she even writes, I noticed she used the word painful, what's painful was that he spends a lot of money on the things that he wants to do. So I think there is those two things happening at once. He picked the ring that he probably liked. He thought that was aesthetically pleasing to his eye. And he spent amount of money on something. He spends money on things that he enjoys and it seems didn't spend money on something that was for her. So I think there probably is I don't think it's about the ring. I think it's about this feeling of that maybe you feel like he's a little selfish.
Yeah. And I've said this before. I think like the most romantic gestures are people doing things that they don't necessarily want to do.
Right.
Or like it's not their first instinct. Like again, she could be writing this about a card. I told him I wanted the card. I wanted it to say nice things, blah, blah, blah. And he like got me a joke card about like farting or something.
Right.
Because he thought it was really funny. And yeah, to me, that's like, again, that's someone saying, I'm going to be romantic, or I'm going to do this thing the way that I want to do it. It's all about like what would bring me the most enjoyment. I picked out the ring.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It makes him feel proud that he picked it. Like he's, kind of bringing that up, that he picked. Like it does seem like it was more about like what he liked, his ego of like wanting to pick it himself. I think there's something interesting there. I always say these wedding things are just like such juicy. They're like Rorschach tests for like relationship issues, where it's like the wedding and the ring and all the things that come up with couples is like this Rorschach test is coming up that you don't feel like he's listening to you. You feel like he's a little bit selfish, and it was more about him wanting the pride of picking something out himself than wanting to give you something that you were going to love.
Right. But it's hard to bring this up without making it seem like I wanted a more expensive ring. That was, I mean, it sounds like, again, it's not even about like he got her the kind of ring she asked for in a smaller size than she wanted. It sounds like it was a totally different ring than everything she picked up. And I get why she doesn't wear it. Probably irritates her every time she sees it. Like, here's a physical symbol of
what I'm nervous about even. Like they're not married yet. I think she's probably, if this is what we think it is, she's probably a little like it tweaks her, because she's like, what does this mean outside of just this ring? And I think she can even, I'm sure, and I would love a follow-up on this, that there are other examples of this besides the ring. So she might even be able to address this without even bringing up the ring, perhaps. If this is like a pervasive issue of like him spending money on his hobbies, and maybe I'm sure that there's other places where he's like not spending as much money. My vision for you guys is that one day this ring will be a symbol of your growth as a couple, right? Like this is where you started. If you're getting married, you're just at the beginning. This is the springtime of your love. And by the time you get through the rest of the seasons, and this ring is just a ring, obviously, especially if you didn't spend that much money on it, maybe for your first anniversary or for some point down the line, if you communicate, he can
upgrade,
kind of show you that he's meeting your needs. Yeah. Even if it's not an engagement ring, even if it's just like another gift of some sort, and you keep the ring, and it's the ring the way that it is, and it's a symbol of like your communication and your growth, that you can look at it and love it because of how much you've grown as a couple since you started in this place. And maybe it doesn't have to be, or maybe it is like a jewelry piece or whatever, but I do think it's important that you express to him somehow, and might come up around the ring, or if there are other examples of like just
how would you express that?
Yeah. I don't know what else is going on in the relationship. I'm only guessing. Let's say it's even just like he spends, like bringing up, all couples need to talk about like budgeting, right? And finances, and maybe bringing up like how much we need to talk about, like how much you're spending on these hobbies that you have, and, like just kind of things that you might want to do together, or finding out, like, I think the money conversation might help with this a little bit. Like, why did he choose to spend less than you thought on this ring? And you don't even have to bring up necessarily, and you can also bring it up. I'm not saying don't bring up the ring, but my hunch is that there's other things here to bring up in addition to the ring.
Although she's saying like she has no problem almost with him spending that money on these expensive hobbies. It's more like the ring, I think, is an integral part of that conversation, because it's like, this is what you're spending on you and things you like to do. And I know, you financially secure. And I'm just wondering, I mean, is there a way to be like, I'm just wondering what your thought process was in like the way you decided how much to spend on the ring?
Yeah, I think that you could say that. I think you could definitely say, like, how did you decide on a budget for this? I think that's you guys are getting married. You're going to be assuming, I'm assuming you're going to be joining finances. I think that's okay to say, how did you come up with a budget? I know that you spend this on this, and just see how that conversation goes. And I think you can bring up the ring. I'm not saying don't, but I have a feeling there's other things also that might be less loaded that you can mention, where he's prioritizing his own ego, there's a part of it where he wanted to feel good about himself by picking out the ring, which was more important than her liking the ring.
Right. Yeah. And I think she could say that. I think she could say, like, I've been thinking about the engagement ring. I'm so happy we're engaged and we're getting married.
That's the most important thing, is that, like, the symbol of commitment, and blah, blah, blah. Right.
Because sometimes I feel like when you loop it in with this other stuff, you're kind of just like throwing the kitchen sink at people, like, and the ring, like, and you didn't empty the dishwasher, or like, I do feel like if it sounds like it's mostly about the ring. It's been 4 months. I think you could say, like, I've been debating how to bring this up, but I wanted to be honest with you. And it kind of hurt my feelings that when you made this ring for me, and I understand you were proud of you picking it out yourself, that you didn't really take my preferences or feelings about what I would like into mind at all.
Right.
And honestly, I'm a little nervous about, like, that's how we're going to go into a lot of decision making and financial decision making and things like that in our married life. And so I'd love to, like, talk it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you can be curious about his process. I think might be a good way to do it, to be able to say, I'm wondering what your I've been, like, everything you said, but I'm wondering what your thought process was in picking out the ring, because it was very different than all the Pinterest board stuff that I sent you. And I have a feeling that he was kind of like, I don't want to be told. So maybe he almost purposefully went the other direction from what she said she wanted, because he wanted to feel like he was the one picking it, and he wasn't being like, if I had them in couples therapy, we might kind of work on his end of it. Like, maybe he has something about, like, being directed or instructed, or that he's going to be, like, dragged along on things. Like, I think there's a little maybe power struggle happening here.
I could totally see that. That's a great point. I think that's something for them to definitely work through.
Because the fact that she gave him so much and then he went what sounds like the total opposite direction, I think is him being like, don't tell me what to do.
Right. Which is not a good feeling that you want to see behind when you look at your ring every day. It's my husband saying, don't tell me what to do. Yeah. And I mean, it'd be one thing if he did that and went, like, bigger and better than she thought. Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to, like, pick my own ring that's like 6 times the size of whatever you had suggested. But I think to do that and get something that's, what she's saying honestly is, like, a lot smaller or shows less of an investment than she thought, I could see how she would relate that to, like, this is how you feel about me.
Right. But I do think this is going to be a good conversation for them, because I think, again, these marriage things come up because it's like we are joining lives and everyone has their anxieties about losing their power, about losing their independence. And I've even seen this happen where there's someone and they go, like, so big and on the ring, and the woman's like, that's not my style. Like, I'm a little low key. I don't want this enormous rock that everyone's going to comment about, like, because it makes you feel good. Like, it strokes your ego that I'm wearing this when you know that this isn't what I want. So I do think it's definitely okay to bring it up. If this is really the one thing that's coming to the surface, go for it. I think you can do it in a curious way of even, like, I wonder kind of what you were thinking. And maybe if he's insightful, he'll say, yeah, I just really didn't like being told exactly what to buy you. Like, it just felt
emasculating, maybe.
Right. Whatever it is. So that might be helpful information for you. And then you guys can both figure out like, wow, this whole marriage thing is scary. We're both kind of afraid of losing ourselves in this in some way.
Might need some couples therapy.
Yeah.
Good time to do it. All right. Good luck.